Hey guys, it's Hannah, and today I'm filming my August wrap-up. So August, surprisingly, actually was an incredibly good reading month for me. I set out to read a total of, I think, 7 books, and I thought that that was pretty ambitious because I did just start school this month, but actually I ended up reading 10 books this month, and quite a few of these books are actually kind of long, so I'm pretty impressed with myself, I have to say. I haven't read like this for quite a few years, and I feel like I'm falling back into my old habits, and I'm actually really happy with it. So I have to say August was pretty fantastic. So let's just get into the books that I read in the month of August. The first book slash series that I read this month was the Shatter Me series by Tahereh Mafi. Now by the time this video is up, I don't know if my series review will be up or not because I filmed it, but it's taking me a while to edit because I had lots to say. So if it is up, I will link it up above, and I will link it right here, and I will link it down below, so you guys can check it out if you'd like to. So yes, I read this series this month, and if you've seen my review, you know that I wasn't really the biggest fan. I had really high expectations for this series because I'd heard from so many people that it was so amazing and fantastic, but personally, it just kind of fell short for me. I had lots of issues with a lot of the characters, with a lot of the plot and the world building, and some of the themes in here, and yeah, just it really wasn't my cup of tea. I was kind of disappointed with these, but I did read them. I read all 3 of them this month, and I read them really quickly, so that was definitely a plus. They are very, very fast reads, so if you're looking for a fast read that's a dystopian, then I'd recommend checking this series out. But overall, personally, wouldn't recommend this series. I gave Shatter Me, the first book, a 2.5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I gave Unravel Me a 3 stars out of 5 stars on Goodreads. And I gave Ignite Me a 3 stars out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Then after I read those 3 books, I kind of wanted to venture away from dystopian, and I wanted to get into some fantasy. So I read one of the books that was on my August TBR, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Now I've done an entire book review on this, and I have mentioned it many, many times on my channel now, but this was my favorite read this month. And I read some pretty good books this month as well, but this still trumps all. I absolutely adored this book, and I cannot say enough about it. It's just fantastic and beautiful and wonderful and everything I would ever want in a novel, and I love it to death. So if you don't know, The Night Circus is a magical realism fantasy adult book that revolves around the Night Circus, which is a circus that only opens at night. And the circus goes through different towns, it travels everywhere, and opens up and lets people come inside to see its different magical tents that it has. Now, I'm not going to go into more detail because I go into far more detail in my review, and I don't really want to give anything away because this book is best when you know pretty much absolutely nothing about it, and you just find things out as you read, because this book is just, it's perfect. I can't say anything else. It's just perfection, and I highly recommend it. Definitely go check this one out. And I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. My favorite book I've ever read. I can say that. Definitely. The next book I read in the month of August was The Bad Beginning, the first book in the Series of Unfortunate Events series by Lemony Snicket. Surprisingly, I actually never read these books when I was a kid, and that's because I tried to read the first one when I think I was in the 3rd grade, and it scared me, so I didn't keep reading. But my friend was rereading the series recently because he felt kind of nostalgic about it, and he was telling me all about it, and then he lent me the first 4 books that he had of the series, so I have his copies of them right now, and I read the first one this month, and I have to say I did really, really like it. It's dark and scary, which makes sense because it's like neo-gothic, but it was actually really, really good. I was impressed with it. It's one of those books that's a children's book that's not really a children's book, and I love that type of stuff, so I really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to get to the next ones because I think I'll definitely be doing that within the next few months because I really like this one a lot. And I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. So the next 2 books on my list I actually borrowed from a friend and I gave her copies back to her, so I don't have them physically with me. But the next book, or rather play, that I read was Spring Awakening. Now personally, I love to read plays because I do theater. I act and I have directed in the past, and I just love reading plays. They're really easy to get through, they're really entertaining, they're funny, they're dark. I just adore theater and I adore plays in general, so it's something that I really do love to read from time to time. Now, I have actually never seen the musical for Spring Awakening, and I did want to read the play before I watched the musical. I'm really, really glad that I did because the play was incredible. It touches on some really dark and really disturbing topics a lot of the time. So I will say that there's a trigger warning in this play for rape and suicide, so if you don't want to go near anything like that, I recommend staying away from this play. However, it was really, really fascinating for me to read. It was one of those things that you read where at first you don't really understand what it is that you've just read, but then you put it aside, you think on it for a couple of days, and then it all starts to make sense, it all starts to come together, and you end up loving it even more than you thought you did. And that's really what Spring Awakening was for me. It's just one of those things that I still continue to think about, even though it's been weeks since I've read it. It's still in the back of my mind. It's one of my best friend's favorite musicals ever, and I just really want to go see that now because I've read it, and it was wonderful. I adored it. I loved it so, so much. And I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Now, the next book I read this month, which I also borrowed from the same friend, was Everything is Illuminated by John Safran Foer. I think that's how you say his name. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering it. This is the same author who wrote Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, which I know is an extremely popular book. But I read Everything is Illuminated, which was his first novel, I believe. I think it was his debut novel. And it was amazing. I loved this book. So the story is told from 2 perspectives, one by a character named Jonathan, yes, a character who has the exact same name as the author, and by another character named Alex, and it's kind of how their 2 stories interact and how the 2 of them build their relationship and their friendship, and that's all I really want to say about it because I feel like this is also one of those books that it's just better when you don't know anything about it and you just go into it without expecting anything, without knowing anything, and just letting it unfold for itself. Because it really, truly is a beautiful, beautiful book. And I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Then the next book that I read in the month of August was Starry Night by Isabel Gillies. So after reading some fantasy and dystopian and some darker themes and books, I kind of wanted just a lighter contemporary book, so I picked up Starry Night. I hauled this book in my book outlet book haul, and in that video I said that I honestly didn't know anything about this book and I bought it for the cover, which is 100% true. I really did buy it for the cover. And I have to say, I was actually pleasantly surprised. This book didn't have great ratings on Goodreads. All of them were about 2-3 stars. And most people were saying that it wasn't interesting, the main character was annoying, that they couldn't relate, things like that, and it just didn't receive great reviews. So I really didn't have any expectations for this book at all. I actually kind of expected to dislike the book. So the story revolves around a 15-year-old girl named Ren, and she lives in New York with her parents and her dad, who is the museum curator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So while Ren is at a party at the Met Museum that her father is throwing, she meets a boy named Nolan and she kind of falls for him. And the story just kind of takes on from there, and it's about her relationship with him and her relationship with her family and her friends and herself as well. Now, as I was reading this book, I had lots of issues with it. There were lots of comments that the characters would make that were iffy. There were some descriptions of characters that I found to be stereotypical. I didn't like a lot of the tropes that were present in this, and there were things like that that bothered me. I felt like the writing wasn't fantastic. I felt like it kind of dragged on for too long at some points, where it could have just been wrapped up in a few sentences. But overall, I really did appreciate the message that this book had. And I feel like if I had read this book back when I was 15 years old myself, I would have been able to relate to it a bit more. But I still think that it has a lot of merit, because essentially the book is about finding yourself and not letting other people and not letting your emotions run the course of your life. And I really like that about it. And I ended up giving it overall a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, but I thought that this book really did have some value to it. I thought that the messages in it were good. So if you do like contemporary, I highly recommend checking this one out, because even though some of the characters aren't exactly relatable, some of them can get irritating, the overall message of this book was something that I really, really did appreciate. And the last two books I read this month were two of the most exciting books that I read this month, and that is Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. So I said in my August TBR that I really wanted to read Throne of Glass, but I didn't know if I'd have time to get to it. But I had time to get to it, and I got to it, and then I got to the second one, and I just finished Crown of Midnight today, and oh my god, guys, I am feeling so much. So if you guys haven't heard about this series, I don't know where you are, because it's literally everywhere. You're probably not checking any social media or watching any videos, because this book series is everywhere and everyone recommends it. And now I recommend it because it's so freaking good. I am obsessed with these books. Selena is fantastic. Kale is the love of my life. I cried so many times throughout this book, and I can't explain it to you guys. It's just, this book has been ruining my life. Like, Throne of Glass was great. I read it, I really enjoyed it. I love all of the characters. Love Dorian, love Kale, love Selena. I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. But then I got to Crown of Midnight, and Crown of Midnight broke my heart. I was just in tears half the time. I was just devastated. It was pulling at my heartstrings. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle any of the emotions. It was just all too much. It was killing me. I absolutely loved it. I loved this book so, so, so much. And after I'm finished filming this video, I'm literally just gonna go grab Air of Fire and start reading that right away, because I can't wait anymore. I'm so addicted. And I ended up giving this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Also, shameless self-promo, if you want to follow me on Goodreads, you can see me like live update as I read these books and scream in all caps, because I have a problem with using all caps, because when I feel emotions, I just start typing in all caps, and then I just start yelling about everything that I'm feeling, and it just all comes out on Goodreads, so everyone sees it on Goodreads, but I can't really help it. So that is it, guys. That is my August wrap-up. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Let me know in the comments down below what books you read in the month of August and what your favorite book was that you read this month. Mine definitely has to go to the Night Circus or Crown of Midnight. Probably the Night Circus, because it's still favorite book of all time, but Crown of Midnight was just another great reading experience. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Automatically drawn into it, and I knew that I had to buy it. Also, it didn't hurt that this book was on 50% sale, so it was only $1.50, and yeah, I'm not gonna pass up a book that's $1.50. Like, how could you do that? It's not in me.